welcome back to a new episode of NEPA Story. I'm Kylie Montigney, and today we're introducing you to William Ramey. He has been leading teams in one of the most austere and complex environments on planet Earth. He brings to life the power of collaboration, shared leadership, and team creativity. He is the owner of Shared Leadership LLC, a veteran-owned team development solutions provider. He has honed his expertise leading teams in Fortune 50 companies in the U.S. Army. He obtained his doctorate from Drexel University with a focus on organizational behavior. Will delivers a dynamic experiences for audience by blending his experience as a U.S. Army combat veteran and leadership researcher. Welcome to the show. I'm literally so excited and honored to have you on. What a perfect day to have someone like you on the podcast
I was
today.
just thinking kind of how serendipitous it is that we've had a few times we've tried to reach out, and here we are recording on September 11th. And, Kylie, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity that you're giving me. I love the show, the platform you're giving entrepreneurs and people from Northeast PA and who live in Northeast PA. Is just, it is truly a pleasure to be here and be part of what you're building and creating.
Thank you. That means a lot. So as we were filming this on September 11th, of course it's going to be out not on September 11th, but to kind of get a little backstory, like if anyone was wondering, like what were you doing on September 11th, 23 years ago? Because I
Yeah, so
wasn't
20.
born yet. That was like 4 years, 5 years before I was born. But what were you doing on that day?
Yeah, I remember it vividly. So I was enlisted in the Ohio Army National Guard, and I was at college at Youngstown State University. I was in the ROTC room because I had just contracted on September 10th. So I just became a cadet and officially signed on to do my time on active duty as an officer. September 11th hit, and I remember vividly hearing the news, and I got in my truck and I drove home to my mom and dad's house. And I remember seeing planes just start to really land in a very fast, expedient, low hanging manner. And that entire day was just watching and waiting and being together. But yeah, um, I was a junior in college, contracted ROTC cadet, and my ticket was already punched that I was joining the Army at that point in time. So, what a pivotal day to really have that all come together.
Oh, it's a great day. Like, was it like the day before the incident, or was it kind of like a previous
No,
year?
so I had planned on contracting. I had planned on doing ROTC and getting my commission to become an officer, but you don't typically contract until your junior year. And it was September 10th was the day that I signed all my paperwork to make it official, and then September 11th happened. And so that means like my time in the National Guard, I was switched over from being enlisted to being a cadet, and it was all kind of fresh and new. I actually tried to back out of my contract because my National Guard unit was a military police unit. We went to do airport security, and they wouldn't let me go because I was contracted as a cadet, and I had to stay and do schooling and finish up so I can get my commission. But it was an interesting time. I saw a lot of my good friends and some of the people I was in college with got rerouted and got called on full-time duties as a National Guards member. And but that's what we're here to do as part of our National Guard, is to be here for the homeland and homeland defense. And that day really has changed the architecture of how we serve and how we serve, locally and community and globally.
Yeah, 100%. Like my cousin, he's currently serving in the Navy at the moment. He's currently stationed in Japan at the moment. Like at that point, he was probably in like high school, like maybe early college. He graduated from Penn State University. That's where all my family went at was Penn State University. And I know I come from kind of a military family, so it's kind of like generation after generation type of military family, like Army, Navy, Marines type of thing. But with that, I'm just like, God, like after 9/11, the Afghanistan war started right after that. So, or
Yeah, it
Iraq
was
war, either or.
yeah, it
So
was fairly quick, with the occupation invasion of Afghanistan, and then we went into back into Iraq, and we were fighting for the first time in a long time, probably, don't quote my military history, but since World War II, we're fighting on two different fronts now, and that really stretches the military, strains the military, and gets people called to serve and contribute in whatever way, shape, or form they can. So
It
interesting
really
times, and it's hard to believe that it's been 23 years.
I know. Like I was every year, ever since I was a little kid, I'm just like, gosh, like how did this happen? Because every time I go to New York City, like New York City is like 2 hours away from
Mhm.
like kind of where we are. So it's like it's not that far of a drive from where we are. And every time I go to that memorial, whenever I'm down in New York City, I'm just like, this is awful. Like I wasn't alive during that time, which like I literally feel bad for everyone that was alive during that point because it's literally awful for people that lost loved ones or we even had to go through that. So every time I go to that memorial or even the museum, like right across the street from it, I'm just like, gosh, like this is awful. Like,
Well, it's a Kylie, I think you get that solemn feeling, and you get that feeling of a little sense of patriotism, a little sense of gosh, I can't surrealism. You can't wrap your head around things, but it's kind of to me, it was a generational moment. Because before that, like you heard your relatives, you ask a question of like my relatives, where were you at when JFK was assassinated, or where were you at when Pearl Harbor occurred? And that was they could remember those vividly. And as horrific as those events are, those are transformative events, but you never think it's going to happen to your generation. And now, my generation has that pivotal moment of everybody who was alive at that time can probably remember, date, time, what they were doing, what was going on. And it's a vivid memory that'll be forever etched. And I think the tributes that we make and the responsibility we have to continue educating people on that subject so that we don't forget, so that we remember why we're here and why we serve and what the bigger picture is, kind of puts things in perspective of what's really trivial and what really matters.
it has. Like with that, I love that you said like with each generation, everyone has something to say, like maybe like World War II, Pearl Harbor, or the World Trade Center attacks. Like with my generation, like we didn't really has that sort of thing, thankfully, knock on wood.
Right.
But it's like we didn't really have that. It's pray we don't have anything anytime soon,
Yeah.
hopefully. But it's like with that, like with those moments, like the attacks on the Twin Towers, it really makes people wake up and realize like to be grateful about some other things. And that was one of those days in 2001 where people were there for each other and took pride to be American. That's kind of one of those days where people kind of took pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it drove a huge sense of patriotism and togetherness and community, because not just in New York City, but the Pentagon and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and people just didn't know what was going on or what was happening or what was unfolding. So, the sense of community, the sense of care, the sense of, we're in this together, it's really an uplifting feeling that you have when you have the ability to work together towards a common goal, towards a common collective purpose. That really makes a huge difference in how you carry yourself throughout your day when you're in something that is bigger than you, that you are, truly reliant on others to be safe and secure and helpful, and to help pick you up and dust you off.
Mm. And I remember like my uncle, like some of my family's from Washington, D.C. And so at that time, my uncle, he used to be in the military. I forget which one he was in or what rank or whatever, but he used to work at the Pentagon at that time. And he was actually supposed to go into the Pentagon that morning of September 11th, 23 years ago. But he didn't go in due to certain reason at that time. I don't know, I forget what you mentioned. I asked him about it, like, were you there? And basically, if he was there, who knows what happened during that morning with the
Sure.
plane hitting the Pentagon, damaging one half of this Pentagon. And I'm just like, this is insane. Like, who knows? Like, everyone, a lot of people have that stories of people who maybe worked at the Twin Towers during that time, but didn't go in because maybe they were late to their bus or something. But I'm just like, what? Who knows what happened if he didn't have something going on that morning, and the plane literally hit the Pentagon or something after the Twin Towers were hit, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you reflect on life and how pivotal it can be, and you really want to take them, take the time that you have and make the most of it.
For sure. So to dive into your work, so can you share with us kind of the pivotal moment in your life when you realize kind of the importance of collaboration and shared leadership that you often do?
And it was when I was serving in the military. So I deployed in 2005, and I led a maintenance recovery team. And we would go out on the supply routes and we would pick up damaged or destroyed weapon systems. And we had such a wide variety of skill sets that we needed. We had combat lifesavers, we had welders, we had heavy equipment mechanics, we had heavy equipment operators, we had crane operators, and we had me. And here I am, I'm a logistics officer, I'm a first lieutenant, and I did not have all of the requisite skills, knowledge, or abilities, nor I wasn't trained, nor should I have been. And what that really drove was the fact that I couldn't lead by authoritative positional expertise. I had to lead my team by bringing people together, regardless of rank, and rely on their knowledge, their skills, their abilities, their experiences to do some creative problem solving. So we'd go out on these supply routes and we'd pick up vehicles that were hit with improvised explosive devices. Their center of gravity is off. Or imagine if you're driving down I-80 and you have a 18-wheeler with a full load that's twisted and turned up and turned over. That's essentially what we did. Was we'd go out and pick those vehicles up off the supply route to keep them clear. So every mission was different. The enemy had a vote, meaning we had a lot of external factors that were shifting. So for me, that really solidified the fact that you can't have all of the answers as a leader. That's
Mhm.
why you have a team. So if you have a team, why not be collaborative and supportive and make those conditions to where people feel comfortable bringing their voice to the table, regardless of rank, regardless of position that they play? If they've got a good idea, if they've got a creative thought, if they've got a way to solve a problem, let's bring that team together, because we can accomplish more and we can innovate faster and we can problem solve better if we have more ideas and diverse thought and leverage everybody's skills along the way. So that was really probably, looking back on my career, the one moment that really drove that point home, that you can share leadership responsibilities, you can share collaboration with a team and still get even better outcomes than if you were just to hold those in as a lone wolf type leader.
Because when you're in the military, like, it can teach you probably more than you realize. Of course, you're serving your country, so you're putting your life at risk, but you learn different things like teamwork. That is the most important, one of the most important things you learn in the military is probably teamwork or leadership per se. And that is something that I know tons of people like yourself take advantage of once they get discharged or kind of find a different path after they get discharged. And once you're in the military, you serve on different missions, like maybe go and find things that got exploded, like trucks, or for example, or something, you know? So it's like any rank or whatever is very different. Like Marines, Navy, Army, they're all different. So you do different things. But how often, like, would you go out on the ground and kind of look at different things?
Yeah. So when I was deployed, and I've led different teams in the military. I was a military policeman. I was a maintenance officer, logistics officer. I was a space operations officer. So I had a wide variety of experiences with different technical teams. When I was deployed, we'd go out on mission when we were called. So one, we didn't know. There was a level of uncertainty that, hey, we're on call today for 24 hours. We may get a mission, as soon as we change over shift. We may get a mission in the middle of the night. So we had to stay ready.
Mhm.
Throughout my time there in Iraq, my team and the second team that we're on, we conducted over 100 missions over 365 days.
Oh,
So if you just, law of averages, it was about every third day we got called out on these missions, and we'd go out Sometimes we're out on site for 2 hours. Sometimes we're out on site for 8 hours. Sometimes we're out on site for 6 hours. Sometimes it was a long way away. Sometimes it was right down the road. So there was a lot of variety that we had to deal with. And I think that's the one of the many things you learn in the military is how to adapt and how to be flexible. So no matter what industry you're in post military career, you're getting these power skills, as I like to call them, in resiliency, how to bounce back from failure, in adaptability, how to shift based on changes in the work environment, and how to influence people, how to work with different people from different backgrounds. So all this comes together, and you can apply those skills across a wide range of industries, post military career. But you get immersed in it from day one when you're in the military.
100%. Like it can teach you like anything. Like
Oh
obviously
yeah.
how much it teaches you, but for me, if it was like a late night mission call, I would literally lose my mind if it was like a maybe a midnight call or like a mission call. Even though like with being in the military, you have to be prepared for anything, no matter if it's like 10 in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. Like it could be anything. And that's something that would probably drive me nuts if I ever served. And I literally am so thankful for everyone that had to go through that, including yourself, because like it can be hard adjustment to have to deal with that mission because you don't know what you're dealing with every single day because every single day is very much different.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Those, I remember getting the knock on the door to call across the radio at like 1 in the morning that it's time to go. And we had to be prepared to be out of the gates within an hour of getting the call. So that's, another thing that the military taught you was, your rituals and your routines to be prepared and set up for success always on the ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, how did kind of your upbringing in Northeast Ohio kind of shape your leadership philosophy in the way you kind of approach team dynamics today? I know you mentioned with everything about the military, but did you being raised in Northeast Ohio kind of influence it a little bit, or was it
Oh,
all
one hundred percent. So I'm going to take you back before I entered the military. When I entered the military, I was 17 when I first enlisted, and then I left home to go on that big Army adventure at 21. But let me take you back before that. Is my time in Northeast Ohio. My mom and dad, they always had us in sports and music. So from 7 years old, I had either a baseball glove, a basketball, a soccer ball in my hand, on my foot. We played team sports, and
Mhm.
we also played instruments. And then we got into the elementary school band and the middle school band and the high school band. And really, what that taught me is that you you can do so much more with other people. So it taught me to work together. There is no solo artist on a sports team, right? You can if you're the I played baseball as a pitcher. I love pitching, but I needed a catcher, and I needed the infield and outfield behind me, because if I throw a ball, someone's got to catch it. The batter's going to hit it eventually, right? So you need a team of people. When I was in band, I played in jazz band in high school, symphonic band in high school. So jazz band, like, we had a band where you couldn't produce the sound of the band all by yourself. And if you really wanted to hook people and get people in and find that groove, like, you had to play off the drummers, playing off the rhythm guitarist, and playing off the horn section. So that upbringing, my parents got me into these, team activities that really opened my eyes to, you got to work together. You can do more with people when you bring them in together towards a shared belief in something. Whether that's a shared belief in wanting to win and play your best ability on the in sports, or if it was, we want to produce the best sound and move our audience as a band. And when I started to transition into adulthood, those leadership roles, you can have a team, but there might be one or two or three or four people that really start to shape and influence, bringing people together, connecting people, organizing people, being the voice for those that may be more timid. So that experience early on, as an athlete, as a team player, as a musician, shapes how I look at and view leadership and team dynamics.
That is kind of like the way I was raised too. I grew up in a big sports family. So, Pennsylvania is big on sports like football, baseball, hockey. Like, it's basically big on everything. Like, my parents literally put me and my brother, I'm not, we're put on baseball, well, T-ball at like 4 years old.
Yep.
and we played other sports like baseball, basketball, swimming, which I stopped playing all of those by the time I was like probably 13. But everything like we grew up on sports. My family's literally like die-hard
I
sports.
see the Dodger stuff behind you. I mean, so yeah, you
I
still
mean, you
bleed
can
Dodger
always see
blue.
it by my background, baseball background. But with growing up in sports, like you're always busy. Of course, sometimes parents just put their kids in sports to keep them active and keep them busy, so they won't have to like drive them crazy that much. And I was kind of one of those kids actually. When I was little, like when I was very young.
Yeah,
So like when I was growing up in sports, like it really was like you literally had to do teamwork or else you're screwed over. You can't do everything alone. That's part of what sports are. Is like you don't win unless you other people are doing their job. Is that just you? And
exactly.
so that's what something that I learned also growing up is that like you need people to back you up, even if it's in sports, work environment, or whatever. You can't do everything alone to make something successful.
You're 100% accurate, and you learn that at an early age, and you start to form those behaviors, and you form those habits and those lessons, and they you carry that with you.
100%. Yeah. Like that's something that sets you up in the long run. If you don't learn it when you're a kid, then you might as well, like, you won't know when you will learn it in your adulthood. You might as well, like, learn it earlier the better.
That's it. You got it right.
So, in your experience, like, what are some common barriers that to shared leadership with organizations, and how can they overcome them?
The premise of shared leadership is that everybody has the capability to lead, and that depending on the situation, different people have different skills, experiences, abilities who can come and take a leadership role, and it kind of ebbs and flows, right? The biggest barrier that you see in the workplace is that we have positional, we have organizational structures, and we have people that are given a title, team leader or captain, and so with that, right there is probably the first barrier to overcome is what's going on with me personally as a formalized in a position as a leader. Do I have enough trust in my team to let go? And I have to be able to and willing to give that trust to my team to let go. So the letting go is I put myself in a leadership position. I think my team has expectations of me. So I start to have these self-imposed images of what a leader is. And some people fall into the trap of a leader has to know everything. A leader has to be everywhere all the time. A leader has to have all the answers. So if you can let go of that and embrace humility and embrace the understanding that you don't have to have all the answers, you just have to be able to get the people on your team to come up with the answers and share their thoughts. The biggest barrier I've seen is in the letting go of the self-imposed thoughts and feelings of what you think leadership is and leading by position and leading by title, and then embracing the fact that people have something to say. I can trust that you might not do something the way I would do it, but the outcome is going to be even better, or the outcome is going to be what we're looking for. So when I think about, in psychology, call it territorial loss. They teach it to you in kindergarten. In kindergarten, what's the first thing they teach you? They teach you how to share.
Mm, yeah, that's
Well,
accurate.
right?
That's the
Yeah,
first thing they'll
I
probably
wasn't that
teach.
great at it, but I had siblings, so I got taught how to share early.
Yeah, I was the same one. I was the
Yeah.
same.
So when you get into this adulthood and you have this idea of, oh, I'm a leader, I'm gonna hoard all the knowledge, I'm gonna hoard all the information, I'm gonna keep all the communication tight knit because I wanna be able to show to my team that I've got it all together. Well, what are you doing? You're creating an environment where you're not sharing. You're not sharing information. You're not sharing opportunity. You're not sharing, opportunity for people to develop or to show you what they have. Right. So if I was a kindergartner, I was the one with the 8 pack of crayons, and my buddy had the 64 pack. Well, wouldn't it have been nice for him or her to share with me so we could both have different colored crayons and we
Boy,
could make a
64 pack
better
instead
picture
of the
together?
8 pack. Like, might as well. Like, of course, when you're 4 or 5 years old, you're like, well, I want to be like this person, so might as well just steal a crayon.
Yeah. So, but it's like, hey, we can make a better picture together if we've got more options to pull from. Here's my skills I'm bringing. Here's your skills you're bringing. Let's merge them together. And that's essentially, you boil down what shared leadership is when you have people that come together towards a common purpose. You've got a team leader in place who's willing to share leadership responsibilities and disperse that amongst the team so you can leverage the awesome talent and brilliance and genius of the collective team that you have access to.
Mm. I'm very glad you mentioned everything you just said because I feel like there's always some sort of biases in what you portray yourself as like a leader or whatever. Like everyone kind of sees other people having a certain trait in being a leader. Maybe they know everything, they know it all. Like sometimes people oftentimes see that certain traits in becoming a leader, and they're sometimes like, well, I can't do that because I don't have so and so trait, you
Mm.
know? So it's like every time someone sees that, it prevents them from like sticking up and actually doing something and helping other people. So that's something that a lot of people that keeps a lot of people back oftentimes is that like, okay, well, I don't have these traits. So what's the point of sticking up for my job and being a leader, helping other people out if I am not a leader, or if Google doesn't tell me that I have this and so traits. So what's the point of giving up?
Yeah, and I like to switch that, right? So I look at things that are abilities, right? So humility, you can practice humility, resilience, you can practice bouncing back from setbacks, adaptability, you can practice adaptability, and you can practice how you react to a change in your environment or how you react to new information coming in. So if you can practice these things, then they're not traits, they're abilities that you can get better at and hone to put into practice, to put into play as a leader. So if you're looking up to somebody and you've got an idea of, oh, this person has all these traits, think about where that person was 15, 20 years ago. They weren't necessarily born with these traits. They have put them into practice and honed them. So if they can do it, you can too.
You just have to find confidence, man. That's the
That's
only
it.
word.
You got to try. You got to be willing to try. You've got to be willing to fail.
That you're so right. So the last thing I have for you is how can people connect with you and your work?
Oh, no, I appreciate that opportunity. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, Dr. William Ramey. Connect with me there on LinkedIn. I have my own website, drwilliamramey.com. So if you're interested in a leadership development or team development workshop or a lunch and learn or a keynote, you can find out more about my story and my offerings there. And I also do a podcast, Leadership Decoded podcast. So you can connect with me on Instagram at Leadership Decoded Pod.
Awesome. So I'll put all that information for everyone below. If anyone's interested, check out the podcast or just want to connect in general, because who doesn't want to connect with other people?
Absolutely.
Sometimes people can be lazy, and I'm one of those people, I'm sure, as you as well. But thank
I
you,
have my moments.
everyone, for listening. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Last few weeks we've been on an amazing grind, which is awesome. But I really appreciate you so much for coming on, taking time, and thank you for everything you're doing. And I appreciate everything you did and for serving. It means so much.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate you and the opportunity.